There's a point in every founder's journey when the wheels start to come off, revenue's flat, the team's tired, you are questioning your choices. And even though you have read every founder mindset post or books or listen to every podcast out there, none of it hits when your world is actually on fire. Today, on this episode of the BizBlend podcast, we are going to strip back that highlight reel and talk about the parts no one posts about, listeners. I'm your host, Sana, as always, and we'll talk about the moments when grit feels overrated, the nights when you can't fake optimism, and the question that keeps you up: how do I keep going when nothing is going well? And my guest knows this terrain very well, listeners. Over the past 5 years, she's built something from the ground up without a map or a blueprint, pitched to billionaires, led people older and wiser than her, and faced her own self doubt head on. She has lived that tightrope between leadership and loneliness, between courage and collapse. So let's talk about what happens behind the titles. Let's talk about resilience, not as a buzzword, but as a lived experience with my incredible guest today, listeners, Natalie Ochodnicka. So, Natalie, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Sana, for such a lovely introduction. This is maybe the first time that I heard these lovely words describing my journey because you hit the spots with everything that you said. Um, Definitely, it has been an amazing journey, but it has been a tough journey until this moment. So, everyone wants to be successful, and we have this perception of a success that is just laying on the beach sipping margaritas, which in fact, all the success is full set of uncomfortable moments, and then one nice moment, and then you get back to the uncomfort or discomfort until you win again, and the cycle repeats. So I'm excited to be here and talk about my journey and share a little bit more about, you know, um, my everyday as well, still.
Exactly, exactly. Um, Before we start exploring your journey, what I mean, let's see if everything feels like it's falling apart, especially in business. What is your first move?
Yes, so my first move, and I had to learn this, but I used to resist the when the things didn't go right. I used to resist and used to not want to admit it, and I would just always say everything is fine, until I burnt out and it wasn't fine internally because I all I felt was this heavy burden on my shoulders because I wasn't able to accept what was really happening, and I was just trying to close my eyes and just say it's all good. It's not happening. It is happening, but it's not hurting me, and I can move through, right? So the first thing that I need to do now is to accept the reality. If the things are not going well, I learn to accept. I cry for a day, I break down for a day, I complain, I vent, whatever I need to do to get that off my chest. Because that acceptance actually helps me to have this bird's eye view on all the things and makes me realize that in reality, the things are not as bad as they look because there are still many things that do work out. And I'm just focusing on this one problem that I might probably see as bigger than it really is. So the first move to answer your question is to accept the reality of things not going well, right?
That is
And then after I take that time to really accept and do whatever I need to get it off my chest, then I have little bits of clarity in my mind where I can then just from the logic I can say, all right, what is the first step that I need to do? we've got this big goal to fix. Let's say we're not making revenue. We are $500,000 short in red numbers. That's the bigger vision that we need to fix. But what is the if you reverse engineer, what is the first step that you need to make to make sure that we get to the broader vision? And so what helps me is really to focus on one step at a time, because then af- after a couple months or after a week or after some period of time, I actually find myself in a situation where I'm like, oh, okay, things started working out now. Like it somehow got better, but it didn't get better somehow. It got better because I just had a focused laser vision and on things that I needed to do that were achievable every day.
Mm, I think that is so practical and it makes so much sense. And this is not only just applicable for or in the context of business or entrepreneur, but I think for every one of us, because life is unpredictable. There will be days, there will be phases where everything will fall apart. Yeah, we kind of get into that. I mean, personally, if I can speak for myself, I would all like I would go into that denial mode. This is not happening. This is not happening. This is not possible. And that kind of would urge me to react. So I think when we keep that in the frame of an entrepreneur, especially because, being a founder, being an entrepreneur, it's actually a very lonely journey.
Oh yeah.
Yes, there are teams, your family, your friends, your mentors and coaches out there. But I think it's a lonely journey. There are huge risks involved behind all those, shiny stuff that we see online or on social media. It's a different picture altogether.
All right.
Is you get your freedom, you get your time, but like if I see many of my friends or ex-colleagues who have now become solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. They don't get any weekend holidays. They are still working on weekends, but I see a passion, I see a fire within this, and they're working. But then when everything kind of falls down, let's take the example of COVID, Natalie. um, it's kind of natural that we react to it. Oh my goodness, what we will do? Let me do this. Let me do that. And in all that um mayhem, we kind of lose the objectivity of what we have to do to make sure that we do not break down my company or my people. They don't suffer. So what you said, that is very very practical.
Yeah, absolutely. What also helps me massively, I have team of people. You always work with people, right? So you always have people around you that can help you get out of the situations. So when I started leading people, what I thought was that I had to be the one always having an answer, always figuring it all out on my own, because I'm the manager, I'm the leader. I have to be the smartest one. That's actually not true. I have built a team of almost 70 people in 14 months. We provide clinical services to patients in Australia. I am not clinical. I have no clinical education. I have business degree. And so I knew that I had to surround myself with people that are smarter than me in this space, because I needed them to guide me on what needed to be done, what are the clinical practices and so on. So when things really don't go right, I always come to my team and say, leadership team, and say, guys, this is what's not going right. What do we do about it? So actually sharing that load with team of people around me helps us and me and the team progress massively, because all of a sudden, from me being in my own head, I now have five other people sitting in the room, and we just have a conversation, and we come out of our meeting and we have a solution. And then I come out of it and say, oh, actually, the problem was not that huge as we thought. There were lessons that we learned from it. You know, there is a reason why this problem even happened, because we needed to level up. And this is how we just need to adjust, and that's the answer to it. Like, that's how we go on, we improve, right? So I think also having people, being able to rely on people around me and asking for help, and really taking your team on the journey with you, being transparent about all the issues. I never acted I was perfect. I've never acted like I was smarter than anyone in my team or in the company. You need to always go into every situation with lots of humility. And so once you do that, once you show that vulnerable side of you as a leader, I think you take the team on the journey, and everyone will want the same outcome and share the vision with you. So that's also what helps me massively. Is I had to learn that I don't need to have all the answers, and that I have people around me that collectively can help me get where we need to get. Um, that's massive as well. In the times of crisis, also I have my non-negotiables, right? So my job is very stressful if I allow it to be, but I make sure that, every morning I go outside for a walk to the beach. I know all these podcasts talk about it and stuff, but exercise, regular exercise, 6 days a week, that's something that keeps me mentally sane. So these are things, I do to make sure that I can deal with the stress at work during the week. I also spend lots of time with my friends on the weekends and close ones. So it's a mixture of everything.
Yeah, and that's very inspiring, Natalie. Very, very inspiring. Um, I think it highlights the human side of anyone who is an entrepreneur or anyone who is in business. Um, and you have a very interesting journey. I mean, this could be off topic, but I think the backdrop, it serves as a very important role in shaping your journey, specifically the past 5 years. I mean, you, as an immigrant, you came to Australia at a very young age. Um, you have had such humble beginnings. I mean, if you can share a glimpse of that journey, because yeah, I'm very, very actually reading through it, and I actually got very much inspired. And I instantly I knew that listeners should get an idea that sometimes the grass would always look greener on the other side, but you do not know the actual behind the scenes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And look, we always say the grass might look greener on the other side, but I'm a big advocate of believing that you create your happiness anywhere you go. And so it doesn't really matter where you are. If you decide to always live your life by trying to be fulfilled and satisfied and live by your values every day, that is what matters. And so, in terms of my journey, I came to this country, I came to Australia 5 years ago. I was, I believe, 26. And I had a stable job back home. I used to live in Prague in Czech Republic. I had a stable job in corporate, stable income. I was very comfortable. But then one day I was just like, is this it? I'm 25 years old. Is like what's there? Like I want to explore. I don't have no excitement in life. I don't want to settle down. I don't want to go from one job, and I don't like it's boring. I don't want to live a boring life. I am 25. I want to travel. I want to have fun. And so I decided that I would go visit Australia, and I came here for 1 year only. And I think 5 years later, here we are. So it's interesting to me. Especially, when I'm not sure if you've ever experienced such feeling, but when you come to a place and you instantly feel like home. I've had this. I'm not sure. Have you changed countries or have you traveled a lot before?
I have not internationally traveled. That is something which I sometimes very much, kind of have a guilt about. But in terms of even, I mean, if you look at the scale here of like migrating to other cities in within India, because it's such a diverse probably there will be few cities or very remote cities, and then at the same spectrum, in the same spectrum at the other end there will be this. mega cities, urban, completely urban population. Very different cultures, difference in food, clothes, your, language, body language, everything,
Mhm.
everything. What kind of art forms you're consuming. So in that terms, I have had multiple shocks.
Yeah, yeah. So exactly. So it doesn't matter whether it's in the same country or whether you travel internationally, but I instantly had when I arrived to Sydney, arrived and I was just like, this is where I belong. I can't even, and I feel that until this day, I cannot describe the feeling that I have. This is the first city where you know how you go on vacation and then you're like, oh my god, I have to go home, I have to greet it. I've never had that with Sydney. I always look forward to go back to Sydney. I'm like, yay, I'm going back home. So like I instantly knew this was, even though I still wanted to return home because I'm very far away from my family. My family is in Eastern Europe, and of course I miss them. I still wanted to go home. I just could never find courage to leave again. And so when I came, I was looking for a job basically, and I couldn't find any. And so I started cleaning houses of wealthy people, and I remember one day I was on a train going to work. It was 5 a.m. and I was calling my mom. I was crying. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to be a housemaid. No, nothing against the housemaids, but I said, this is not what I want to do. Um, and she's like, don't worry. I read this article about a girl that moved to Australia and she found this job as a marketing manager in the marketing agency. And you will make it too. Don't worry, you'll be successful as well. So she gave me this great courage as my mom always does. And so 1 month after I found a job in this company where I am at currently, and it was like a junior admin role. And basically, I had some visa restrictions, so I could only work for one company for 6 months due to visa. And so I worked for them for 6 months as an admin person, and then I had to leave and find another job. And so then they messaged me back. They're like, do you want everyone you back come back? So then I came back for another 6 months. And then I had to leave again because they didn't want to sponsor me and they didn't have any visa options. And then so I left and I found another job again. And then they messaged me. They said, come back again. And I said, guys, I don't have any visa. You need to sponsor me. So then after like 2 years, they decided to sponsor me as a company in Australia so I could stay here and work for them. And I was the first person that they sponsored because it's a process, it costs money and so on. It's a lengthy, yeah, it's a lengthy process. And so yeah, I started as a coordinator in that team, and then after I believe 6 months, our manager resigned and moved somewhere else. So they came to me if I wanted to lead the team of people. But so at that time, I had two people. I didn't know what to do. No one told me what to do. No one gave me any guidance. They just gave me the role and left me to it. And then a year after that, we bought a new business, and I was put under a different management. And this manager, I still have him until now. He's amazing. And he came to me, he said, you need to build a team of people. And so from two people, I went to almost 70 in 14 months. Now I have, I think, I don't even know how many exactly. I think about something around 70. And but I didn't know where to start. I had no experience. Was a new leader. No one taught me how to manage. No one gave me any information about building the team. I didn't know what budget was. Everything I had to learn from scratch. So basically, I had to create a whole business plan, present that to our CEO, so he would be on board with it. And yeah, since then we have won couple tenders with other manufacturers and big pharma companies, so we can do business with them. But yeah, basically, when I look back at the journey and I'm like, oh my god, like recruited all these people, but we have no systems, no processes in place, no software, no governance, nothing, no compliance, and it was a crazy ride, and we're still learning, we're still adjusting and optimizing. But yeah, that's my journey. I think full of challenges, but full of amazing growth. I think it changed me as a person, even though it was absolutely uncomfortable, and it still is until this day. I would not change it for anything in this world, because I think, I keep saying every person has their 5 minutes in life to grab and use that opportunity to create something meaningful. And I think that this is my 5 minutes, because when do I do this if not now? While I have an opportunity to fail, you know, without implications, huge implications.
Well, it really lights me up, and I'm very sure our listeners would be also be feeling similar kind of emotions, because um, it's a self-made trajectory. It's a self-made graph, and one thing that I really, really, I think I'm very positive about is that people, they will still identify the right talent, because um, they knew that you know you have that. Sometimes you can identify that this person has
Mhm.
knack or the flair.
Yeah,
uh, if we hone or we kind of mentor or guide him or her, they'll be able to succeed.
exactly.
So I think that's one once again goes back to that human element. Whenever in business or entrepreneurship we talk about. And another point that I also want to highlight here, Natalie, that um, there's this narrative that persistence always pays off,
Yeah,
but sometimes pushing through leads it to burnout or sometimes blind spots. How do you know that when it is the time to pause and when it's time to keep continuously going on, like persevere?
yeah. That's a great question, because it is indeed very difficult to differentiate between these two things, right? When to persevere, and when am I pushing without an actual purpose of pushing, right? So for me, it really needs to make sense. So I need to know, why am I doing this? What is the purpose of me pushing, right? My purpose that right now is, my why is that I know that I can keep pushing like this for a couple more years, because I know what is the benefit that this will give me after that. That is the same in business. Every single challenge, every single project that we have, you need to look at it from a bird's eye perspective and say, okay, if we keep pushing for 3, 6, 12 months, what will it bring us? Or are we just doing it for the sake of doing it? So I think that is the biggest differentiator between knowing when to push for a reason, and when it actually doesn't make sense anymore. Because it's not giving up, it's being smart about redirecting your energy to things that actually make sense, rather than pushing for something that doesn't provide any return to you, really. Like, I would have multiple examples of programs that we would start developing, and then in the middle of it, we realized that it didn't actually make any sense for the effort that we were putting in. We were like, well, what is point of really doing this? Why are we doing it? It's not bringing us anything. It just keeps everyone overwhelmed. The team is under the pump. The P&L is not looking good. We're not making any money out of it. We're not helping anyone with doing that. Why are we putting energy into this? And so it's anything with in life as well, right? It's like sometimes we forget about our why, and I like to always return to my why of when I do things, because I just don't. I feel that this life is too precious to waste time on things that actually don't bring you any joy, any purpose, any fulfillment. And I know, and you would know as well, that sometimes you do need to push because the growth should feel uncomfortable. Winning should feel uncomfortable. When you look at all these athletes, they suffer before they win. You have all these long distance runners, you've got all these marathon runners, anyone, fighters. They have to work hard to win. And so you just need to learn to enjoy the suffering and be comfortable in this discomfort. And so, but but for you to be able to be comfortable in the discomfort, you need to know what your purpose is. Because otherwise, you'll just burn out. If you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, you will burn out. And what is burnout? Burnout is actually, you will never burn out if you know that whatever you're doing to push makes sense. You will only burn out if you get stuck into feeling overwhelmed, pushing, pushing, pushing without having anything back for it.
Absolutely. That's the perfect definition there. And that's why, going back to that particular, which I've observed, like, people would say, why are you working on weekends? Why are you devoting 14, 16 hours behind, this company? Or maybe this business plan or this idea. But if that is giving me that purpose, that is what exactly keeping the flame, the fire within me alive.
Exactly.
I wouldn't bat an eyelid, to stop and let it go out of my hand. Yes, I will also be mindful in devoting time towards myself and my family, my loved ones as well. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind devoting my weekend to something, which I know is going to make some sense in this world, for maybe
Yeah.
people.
But what is driving you, Sana, right? It's not just recording all these podcasts. If you saw that no one was listening to it, and if people were not engaging, and you would actually just record without anyone seeing it, would you be that driven? No, right? So you wouldn't keep doing this if you knew that you had like no listeners, no one saw you, no one cared. You would stop and say, why am I doing this? It wouldn't bring you any joy, right? It only brings joy to you because you know that you can influence so many people by your podcasts.
Okay.
So that is your exact why. Um so that is how you differentiate. It's like, does the final outcome exceed the effort that you have to put in? Like, does the final outcome of what you're doing, the joy of that, exceed the suffering of doing it? If that's a yes, then that means that you can keep pushing.
Okay, so. And before we wrap up, Natalie, what advice would you give to someone who is listening to this podcast, this episode, and they are sitting in the exact storm right now, like where nothing seems to be working? Any advice?
The advice would be, sometimes it's enough just to surrender. I promise it will get better. Nothing lasts forever. There is always sun that comes out after the storm. And I've experienced it over and over in my life. But focus on the step number one. Don't worry about anything else. What is the easiest possible step that you can do right now to help you move a little bit closer to where you want to go? I think that is what helps me in these situations. There's always something you can do that can progress you a little bit further away from all the mess that you feel like you're in.
True, true. I think also another I think in your journey, I think that played a very, very important role is those encouraging words of your mother. Um, I think
Exactly.
yeah, because yes, I mean we have to figure out everything on our own, but I think um that sometimes those words could be coming from our parents or our siblings, their friends, loved ones, even just one person's that or maybe it can be a coach or a mentor as well, but it can be a life
Anyone.
and
Oh,
it can.
because you absolutely, you need to talk to people, whoever you trust, whoever you feel like you can vent to. I am a person that struggles to vent because I don't like to put my problems on other people. But I know that my mom is a person in life that I can say anything to, and she'll always say the words that I hear properly. She always gives me these comforts and says, "Don't worry, if nothing works out, you always have a home to return to." So this is always in my heart to know that if I don't succeed here, there is always a place I can go back to, and that's my mom and my parents back home. So not everyone is that lucky, though. I get that. I understand that not everyone in this world has that luxury. I'm absolutely grateful to have that in my life. But everyone has someone that they can lean on to. And so, absolutely, as you said, let's encourage everyone to do so because it really genuinely helps. Someone just give you a different perspective. That's all you need. Different words, different perspective, different vision, and then you're okay again. Sometimes you just need someone to vent to.
Exactly, exactly. Oh, wow, lovely. And Natalie, if listeners, they would like to connect with you to get some direction here, share their thoughts of from this conversation with you, and also, connect with you. What would be the easiest way?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can reach out to me on my LinkedIn profile. You can share it in the description, but it's my first and my last name, Natalia Ochodnicka. And I'm also building my new Instagram page. So that will be live very soon, where I want to be adding content and I want to be contributing and helping people on the journey that I've gone through and I'm going through as well, to support other women in leadership on the journey that can be challenging if you don't have any support.
Exactly. Brilliant, brilliant. So listeners, what I'll do is I'll have all the details in the show notes, so you can just refer to them, connect with Natalie, and share your thoughts, and also subscribe to us. Leave us your thoughts in the comments section. Let us know your experience, maybe, or what would you do if in case nothing seems to work out in your favor. But I think what I love today about today's conversation is that it isn't glamorizing the struggle. No, not at all. It is about honoring it. And the truth is, every leader has those moments when they quietly wonder if it's worth it. But what you have shared, Natalie, thank you so much, first of all. It really, really reminds us that breaking points are often when the real leadership begins. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lovely conversation, and I hope your listeners at least feel like they're not alone in this. We all struggle and we all have our own challenges, um, but everything is completely normal. This is part of the growth.
Exactly, exactly. Very empowering. And yes, I absolutely second that. You are not alone to every one of my listeners. And if you are not behind, actually, you are just in the middle of you becoming. So keep going, not because it's easy, but because your story is still being written. Until next time, this is your host, Sana, signing off from BizBlend. Thank you.